But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. And there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Click OK, One Deck, Arthur, Adam, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So welcome one and all.
How are you?
Good morning.
Hello. Yo.
Good morning.
Good to have you all. Welcome one and all. It's the eve before the eve of New Year. Not that it's in the slightest bit new in the middle of winter when we have New Year, but that is what we call it. Is it Augusticine, or however you say it, that's responsible for giving us New Year in the middle of winter?
Yeah, it used to be April 1st. That's why they got the April Fool's joke, because people still celebrated New Year's on April 1st, the way it should be. The beginning of spring, life beginning, everything coming to bud, roses blossoming, right?
Yeah.
Weather getting warmer, live. But they changed it to January 1st. So everybody that still continued to celebrate New Year on April 1st were called those April Fools.
You know who does celebrate it on April? Financial institutions. They also work on a lunar calendar.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember how the saying goes. Something like the millionaires pay attention to the normal calendar, whereas the billionaires pay attention to astronomy.
Everyone, yep. I heard that.
But it's true, they do. They work the paydays for a big corporate on lunar calendar. That's where I get 13 payments each year, right? Anybody who's working on a corporate pay structure will know that you've got a set interval between your pay period, which doesn't match up with the months. So it'll tick back as you go through the year. Your payments get earlier and earlier throughout the calendar month.
So how many weeks do you wind up with? Because I'd always wind up with 52 weeks of pay.
Yeah, the number of weeks doesn't change. It's just how many weeks are ascribed to a month for a pay period.
And then you got the leap year thrown in there, right? Now you got to figure that out. It's every 4 years, correct?
Yeah, it's because it's just not divisible into the numbers system that we currently use. So when you look at how the moon-sun cycle works to derive time with, it doesn't match with the derivative number values we as mere mortals have ascribed to give that a conceptual meaning in numbers. So turning what is just essentially the movement of a light into a concept that we can understand and put on a calendar has its errors, has its flaws, and those are borne out in the discrepancies, leap year being one of them.
I had a friend that just sent me a text that just relates to this exactly. And I think Now I figured out what he was trying to say. He said, I just realized that as a salaried employee, I was getting screwed. There are 7 days in a week, every single week. There are 4 weeks in a month. That is 28 days. There are 365 days in a year. 365 divided by 28 equals 13. There are 13 months in a year, but as a salaried employee, I was paid only for 12.
That's correct.
The bastard's got an extra month for free.
Wow.
Yeah, out of the calendar, the way the calendar's divisible. But for your average corporate paid employee, they do get 13 payments per month. Certainly when I was working in an electrical store, now defunct, called Dixon's, it's now, I think Curry's has even gone now. I think it's just PC World, but there used to be 3 different stores. And I used to get 13 payments. The same when I was working in the transitional period between managing a pawnbroker and working as a YouTuber. I had a temporary part-time job as a delivery driver for Tesco. Same thing applied. I got 13 payments each year.
So you got paid by the month?
By the
So that's
lunar
not
months.
that's not necessarily true then. So you're really not screwed.
Depends on who you're employed by. But I would imagine,
Sounds like your friend was employed by the wrong people there, Surf Daddy.
Oh, he's had an interesting life. He's worked for government in we'll just say many different capacities. He's my inside man on that kind of information. He's figured it out.
When we're talking about the glory of the heavens in terms of how they operate and trying to ascribe conceptual meaning to it with numbers as people is sad. You know, we've done an all right job, I guess. It's taken us a while, but it's riddled with flaws, as we are now discussing. A lot of it takes away from how you'd naturally behave and is a psychopathic form of gaslighting. You know, when we celebrate New Year, we're being gaslit into believing something that just simply isn't true. What's new about it? Well, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's in the dead of winter. Everything's dead. You see any lambs? No.
I see that there's a new list up, Nathan.
New list? What kind of list?
Things that you are not supposed to say as a flat earther.
Is this revised from yesterday?
All maps are flat, proves flat earth. Confuses representation with reality. Maps are projections, not evidence.
Really? So where do the measurements come from?
weakness.
No. The measurements of the scales and the topography of the maps is what lends credence to the suggestion that because a map is flat, it's representing the flat linear distance scale that's used when measuring and surveying Earth. So when we showed the 1950s or 60s, I can't remember which Pathé video, where it's showing how they use some stereoscopic vision to map the terrain and measure it with horizontal linear distance, that is them measuring Earth to make maps. And they are flat. What does that mean? It means, in the most simplistic terms, Earth is measured flat. Now, you can say, no, it isn't, and I can show you where it is. Now, if you want to turn around and say that's not a good argument, it's not an argument. It's a statement of absolute fact. And I can prove it by showing you how they measured it. It's very simple. Earth is measured flat, and when I say it, I can show it with what are the measurements of Earth. That's right. Now, there's going to be people out there that want to sniff their own farts and have arguments about Earth being flat, and they want to tell others that they can't say things. Bunch of little Hitlers telling everybody else what they can't talk about. Yeah, get lost. I'll say Earth's flat because maps are flat, because maps are flat and Earth is measured to produce the maps, with flat linear distance scales, with miles or kilometres ascribed to those maps. Now, people use maps to not die. But you bunch of wankers who sniff your own farts want to say we can't use it as I couldn't give a shit if you say I can't use it as an argument. I will. But I'll be using it when I point out how Earth got measured to produce that flat map. It was flat. linear with the distance measurements that are ascribed in the scale on the map. Those are based on measurements of Earth. So you saying on your little pathetic lists that we can't have that as an argument, take that list and cram it up your arsehole, you bunch of little Hitlers.
Well, this one you're going to really like. Solar Polaris elevation angles prove flat Earth. Unverified GP of Polaris, unverified circle of equal elevation distance, conceptual horizontal plane of reference at any elevation.
It's not a conceptual anything. It's a measurement of an angle utilising the surface of Earth as part of the measurement. That's another Earth being measured flat and some dictatorial little wankers telling you can't argue it. It's not an argument. When you measure Polaris, you're measuring an angle, one of which is the surface, for an area of equal elevation. Elevation, what's that? Well, that's directly tied to the surface. That's what elevation is. But what an unverified area of equal elevation. I don't give a shit. You can say we don't use latitude, but we do, you bunch of pricks. We definitely use latitude, and it definitely is utilising surface level measurements for areas of equal elevation. Areas, that's circles of equal altitude. What's altitude? Oh, it's got nothing to do with the ground. Wankers. So next time some wanker tells you you can't use this flat Earth measurement to say Earth's flat, know you're dealing with a wanker. And tell them you're a wanker, aren't you? Because I'm telling you, if you're the one out there saying you can't use this flat Earth elevation angle measurement, what's elevation? It's got nothing to do with the ground, you say. Earth's measured flat in all circumstances, but there's going to be shills and disingenuous fart sniffers out there that want to tell you can't use that as an argument. It isn't an argument. It's a measurement of Earth's surface. Elevation angle? Go look up the word elevation and know that you're dealing with a wanker who's telling you can't prove your point with a measurable fact because they want to call it an argument.
Well,
This one is troubling.
Circle of
Go ahead,
equal
before
elevation.
I'll let you go.
Just because it's a circle of equal elevation doesn't mean it's flat.
Yeah, it does. That's exactly what it means. What does equal mean? What's elevation? So just because it says all the same elevation doesn't mean it's all flat. That's precisely what it means.
Ain't that strange? Why would they even bring that up in anything other than positive?
Because they want to
There's
sniff
nothing
their own
derogatory.
farts while they perpetuate the notion that we, as anti-globers, only argue for the distance to a geometric sphere edge horizon, like we did for about 5 years previous, after the Black Swan. No, the distance that you'll ascribe if your decent argument for arguing how Earth isn't curving, well, that will need the linear distance measurements, won't it? That are laid out on the maps that have got Polaris measurements laid out with latitude. Oh, but we can't use the maps and the latitude to say it's just flat. We must use the latitude to say it's not ball-shaped. Wankers.
Just before you move on, hang on, Neil. Just to go over that. I mean that solar Polaris elevation. I mean, anybody who's saying that shouldn't be used as proof of a flat Earth measurement needs the head testing.
Just say to them, don't use it then. Say to them, don't use it then. Meanwhile, when we measure areas of equal elevation, elevation being a measurement from the surface level, I'm going to say it's a measurement from the surface level because it is. What's that? You say I can't use it. Take your rule and cram it up your arsehole while I say Earth's measured flat with elevation angles from the surface level to form areas of equal elevation. That's circles of equal altitude, including but not limited to the ones measured with Polaris off the surface level. What's that? I can't use that. Take it and ram it up your arsehole while I smile at you. Yeah? I'll do whatever I like. When I point out how Earth is measured, it is flat. That's how it's measured. You don't like those measurements. I don't give a shit what you bunch of wankers like. Does that change how the maps are made or how flat they are or how the scale of the distance that's measured by the surveyors is flat? No, it doesn't change any of those things. You being a wanker telling others what they can't do just makes you a dictatorial little Hitler. And you'll get called a wanker by me. What a smile. And still point out that Earth's measured flat, with areas of equal elevation derived from a flat Earth measurement of Polaris. The Earth has been surveyed flat, with miles that are laid down in those measurement representations on the flat maps. What's that? I can't say Earth's flat because maps are flat. Yeah, I can. I just did. That's me metaphorically raping you your own shit that you spew to others, who are sometimes dumb enough to accept your dictatorial nature when you tell people what they can't do. Now, I'm not telling you what you can't do. You can tell people whatever you like, and I can tell you to cram it up your asshole, can't I? And call you a wanker whilst laughing at you. That's what I can do. These shills that are out there that don't like the fact we're talking about how Earth is measured in all circumstances. They want to take those measurements, ignore how flat Earth must be to make them, and then argue about how Earth's not a ball. That's what they want to do. Because they're old school anti-globers. They're not flat earthers at all. I said this yesterday. Make no mistake. Start calling them anti-globers. If you like, you can say it came from me. Nathan Oakley said you're just an anti-glober. Because they love to say that's just a Nathan Oakley argument, don't they? Yeah? When you say Earth's measured flat, because it's measured flat to produce maps, it is. But you're not allowed to make that argument. Tell them from me, you're just an anti-glober. You're not really a flat earther. Because they're not.
Well, Nathan, I'll agree
one of them
to
has
one
actually
thing.
changed his name to Anti-Globe.
Hold on a second. It's not an argument. We'll use it as a statement of fact. All right? So you can argue all you want. We'll just declare it as a statement of fact. Now, before I go on to the next one, you got something to say, Hop?
Yeah, I was just saying that one of them guys over at 24/7 has literally changed his name to Anti-Glober.
Yeah, these people are psychopathic. They like to recycle stuff that I've said, don't you? Who do you think came up with anti-glober? Yeah, you can use that. You've got my permission to use my stuff. Yeah, you recycle what I've come up with. Maybe one day you'll have an air of originality. I noticed Dave McKeegan, so OneDeck sent me one of his messages, and in his message, he called OneDeck Sweetie. I laughed my tits off. I'm like, can't you come up with your own quips? You have to nick them from Professor Dave Explains, you pathetic little twat. Oh, my God. You see how you get away with that? You'd be sucking my dick in that fantasy, Dave McKeegan.
Oh, boy. Number 5 is, this one is kind of interesting because it moves away from the measurements, because at first I'm like, it seems like they're just attacking measurements. But listen to this one. Denial of atmospheric refraction understates reality of image distortion by changes in temperature and pressure altering the path of light. Since when do we have an atmosphere?
We don't. That's an oxymoron.
That's just them demonstrating they don't know what refraction actually is.
No, Neil was right. Neil said, when do we have an atmosphere? Refraction's real,
So
right?
is Vaxi, they're both right.
You can describe mathematically what a refraction is. You will need a flat plane to do it. But when they insert this oxymoronic atmosphere, that violates the base principle of how you'd measure refraction. And it will be with respect to a plane. Earth's measured flat in all circumstances. Refraction's no exception.
This one's going to drive you crazy. Ready for this one? With their 69 nonsense? 69 miles per degree fallacy. This angular relationship neither betrays nor supports the law of perspective. 69...
What's it got to do with perspective? Talking about a Polaris measurement of a flat Earth. So what, this fallacy, sorry, are you trying to turn how we've derived latitude into an argument that's fallacious? No, it's just how we measured Polaris, you bunch of wankers. Yeah? Yeah, take your rules of not talking about stuff, cram up your assholes. No, that is how Polaris gets measured. Don't you like it? Go and talk to the cartographers that came up with that system, not us. You're saying it's a fallacious argument. No, it's how Earth got measured flat with Polaris to form the 1 degree for every 69 statute miles, or 1 degree for every, 60 nautical miles. Those are measurements that you're utilising a flat Earth elevation angle to derive. You think it's an argument? You think it's fallacious? No, that's how we lay out latitude, you bunch of fart-sniffing dickheads.
Do you not remember Bev saying, has anybody proven that that's a real measurement? And do you know how much crap that started, bro?
Right, I don't care.
And
if Bev says it's on the map.
Yeah, remember Bev and Elder Bear, they were saying, how do you know it's 60 nautical miles per degree? Have you
on
ever
the
measured
maps.
it?
It's on the maps.
Go out there and do it.
Pair of fart-sniffing retards. It's on the maps. Am I a cartographer? Did I make the map? No, but it is how maps get used. You're saying it's a fallacious argument? No, they're tools that get used to stop people dying. You pair of fart-sniffing idiots. What's that? It's a fallacious argument? No, it's just how the maps get made. You're saying it's wrong? Well, I don't care. It's still how it gets measured, though, isn't it, with elevation angles to Polaris? Whether you like it or not, you pair of dumbasses.
Yep. At the end of the day, it's an elevation angle.
Vaxi was trying to tell him.
Hold on.
And they were doing the same.
Just 1 sec, One Dick. Go ahead, Harp. I don't think you'd finished. Sorry, One Dick.
And then Vaxi was trying to tell him, right? And they were putting him down, muting him, bullying him. I heard him come in with Jedi, and Jedi saying, well, yeah, I agree, but it's not a triangle, and I almost crapped my pants because those people over there are abject retards.
Yeah, what's happening?
They're disinfo besides the fact. Go ahead. What?
Well, what they want to do is be the arbiter of these things. Well, could you prove that it's measured? Because suddenly they're in a position of authority where they're debating you about what you've spoken about. Well, what you've spoken about, if you're talking about Polaris measurement, is something that's been utilised to stop people dying in the form of mapping and surveying Earth. It's got nothing to do with the person presenting that factual data, but if Bev and Elder Bear can make it seem like the onus is on you to prove it, then suddenly they can be in a position of authority where they can disprove it. As they sniff their own farts and their own intellectual superiority. You're a pair of nothings. You're nobodies. If Bev was run over by a bus tomorrow, we'd still measure altitude angles to Polaris for mapping. You fucking retard. They want to think they're more important than they are. That somehow they've got some bearing on how the maps get formed. You haven't. You're insignificant, inconsequential nothings. Unimportant in the grand scheme of how people use maps. And they do measure Earth flat to form the maps, survey the world, and use the maps after the fact. The scale on the map is flat. If I was run over by a bus tomorrow, that would still be the case. But Bev wants to feel like he's intellectually superior to the person he's talking to. Yeah, you want to feel like you're a special little snowflake, don't you, Bev? You're not. You're a retard. And maps will still be measured flat, whether you're here or not, you pathetic retard.
This one, flat horizon at 120,000 feet. Counterpoint is the globe is too big to see curvature at this height.
Sorry, what's the height again? Height? How do we get the height? So let me get it straight. They want to argue for an altitude measured off a surface level that's flat perpendicular to it, to then suggest that an argument utilising a flat Earth measurement isn't a good measurement. When in life and death circumstances, when all of the instrumentation on an aeroplane goes out, they'll use the horizon. And the altimeter's measuring the surface level with respect to a flat plane. But if we can just use that 120,000 feet measurement off a flat Earth and just ignore how flat it is, then we can tell others that they can't use a certain string of words as an argument. No, we're measuring Earth flat for you to express your own intellectual superiority when you're telling others that they can't use this flat Earth measurement to say Earth's flat. Yeah, they can. You've got my permission to call those people wankers and tell them to shove their list up their own arseholes. And then continue to say Earth's measured flat. With the height that you're telling me I can't describe the horizon from. Yeah, we're still measuring Earth flat for that height though, aren't we? It's an altitude. What's that? Well, when we're talking about altitude, it's got nothing to do with the ground. Yeah, it has. It's a measurement of Earth's surface level perpendicular to it. It's what elevation, that's altitude in this instance, is. What's that? It's not forming an area of equal elevation when you measure an altitude angle for a circle of equal elevation. That means same height and the surface. Yeah, it does. It means Earth's measured flat in all circumstances. But what, there's fart sniffers out there that say it isn't? Yeah, of course there is. Yeah? Because they want to seem special, like they know more than you. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they're smarter than one man. But in their mind, it means they're smarter than everybody. Yeah, they want to feel special. Yeah, let me just talk straight down the barrel of this camera to someone like Bev. Bev, you're a fucking retard. And you're not special. Yeah? No one is. We're just measuring Earth flat, though. Regardless of how special you want to consider yourself. Same goes for Elder Bear. Just a wanker who wants to go around telling people what they can and can't say. Yeah, that's what little dictatorial Hitlers are like, aren't they? Telling people what they can say. Me, I'm very much the opposite. You want to believe in a ball derived from flat Earth measurements of surface? You can. Be my guest. You have my permission.
The B part of that is perception of flatness from limited field, curvature visible in wider lenses, but note eye level biases.
I have no idea what that string of words even meant.
Don't you think, though, just a quickie, don't you think it'd be much more proactive to do a list with, say, 3 or 4 points of actual facts of the matter, how Earth is measured flat, and just stick with these and you won't have a problem? There's a positive list for everybody, not a negative list.
I agree. We should put a list together of how we should have done this a long time ago. Why don't we, at the tip of the sphere, but we'll say sphere for a joke, at the tip, why don't we put together a little list of how you morons should stop arguing and start declaring what Earth is.
No, they can do
and
whatever
how
they like.
we know what Earth is.
No, do whatever you like, right? If you want to start, I'm not going to stop you from forming your lists. You want to go out and make a list so you can sniff your own farts and tell next man how much smarter you are when you dictate to him what he can't say? You be my guest. But I'll turn around and say, yeah, it is still measured flat, though, regardless of whether some fart-sniffing dictatorial Hitler tells you otherwise. But I'm not going to stop him. Make your lists, feel free.
That's fine, because we could have fun with it, but maybe some people need help. Maybe they don't understand that the debate has been over for some time now. And to linger on in a debate that's been settled as us coming to an understanding that it's not a debate. This is how they staged it. Whoever that hidden hand is, this is how it was all set up. But now we came to a clear understanding of how the Earth is measured. And it can only be measured flat.
Yeah,
so
all
that's
that means
not an
is
argument.
what you're saying is the people in the arena that we have typically dealt with don't understand mathematics or geography. But they do understand a lot about 9/11. Yeah. Well, what you're saying is the people around us are idiots. Yeah, they haven't looked at the maths. Yeah, that's right. They haven't gone back to the primary source research in terms of how Earth actually got measured. Yeah, that's correct, Neil. Do I care, though? Not really. Yeah? Earth will still be measured flat regardless of whether or not these idiots that surround us that like talking about 9/11 figure it out or not. Whether they look and understand how Earth is measured. How is Polaris measured? What? With an elevation angle? Yeah, it is. What's elevation? Well, definitely tied to the surface. That's what elevation means. But they say it isn't. Well, why are you arguing with them? It's because you want to argue. Normally, people argue when they aren't 100% confident in their own understanding of things. So they want to thrash it out with somebody else. Maybe increase their knowledge and understanding. I can totally relate. I've done it for 10 years. Meanwhile, now I don't care what some fart-sniffing dictatorial Hitler tells me I can't argue about. I know how Earth's measured. But it's interesting, the moment I knew for sure and without a doubt that Earth was flat, I stopped caring about proving it to others so much. It became far less important to me to convert next man to my belief. But when I wasn't 100% sure, or didn't have what we used to call the silver bullet, then I was very keen to make next man understand as I thought I did. Because I only thought I understood and knew for sure Earth was measured flat. I didn't. When I looked at the measurements, though, then there was no doubt anymore. That's just how it got measured. Flat in all circumstances and without exception. Doesn't matter if you're dealing with refraction or elevation angles. Surface level, eye level will always be parallel. Sea level will always be the reference for the topology changes with respect to Earth as a horizontal plane of reference. It is measured that way. Now, those aren't arguments. Those are statements of absolute fact. And if you understand them, you won't care about next man being a fart-sniffing dictatorial Hitler telling you that you can't have a certain argument. Because to understand these measurement facts is to understand that they aren't arguments. Then you won't care what someone tells you can't argue with. Because you won't be in some other man's server feeling like you've got to express your superiority to next man while you tell him how much better you understand how Earth is dealt with. Once you understand, believe me, you'll stop caring.
Just to well said, Nathan, by the way. But also, just to reiterate what I've just said, like, why it's a red flag. Why is someone putting so much time and effort into saying, don't use these arguments because you could trip up with these arguments, not really flat earth proof? Why aren't they just putting the flat earth proof right down in measurement format and saying, this is all you need?
That's a good question.
What I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's a good question. It seems like people want to still argue. So why are you going to highlight the very thing that knocks out the argument altogether? Why highlight that? They still want to argue. Nathan's right. They're anti-globalists, and that's the bottom line.
Superiority, so they can feel like they're more special than the next man they're talking to. That's all it is. People trying to elevate themselves. Do you know what it really exposes, right? When you get to someone like me highlighting this fact. Oh, right, you want to feel intellectually superiority. Right, you have a low self-esteem. Yeah, you don't value yourself very highly. Internally, you're not telling yourself how smart you are. Me, that's all I do all day. I know I'm ace. I don't need to prove to the next man that I know better than he does. I already know I'm ace. Yeah? There's no need for me to prove that standard. But people with a low self-esteem need to express that to next man so that for a temporary period of time they can feel superior, but only temporarily, while they're telling that man that they know better. And then telling that man that he can or can't do something. So you get to feel special for a few seconds. And that's all it all boils down to. These pathetic, self-loathing wankers needing to feel special about themselves for just a few seconds. Because the rest of the time, they're pissing in their pants, full of dread, and they are full of self-loathing. People like Bev, I've seen that pathetic little twat in life. Yeah? He loathes himself. Now, he's listening to this cringing, and I damn well know it. But it's a fact. Most of these pathetic individuals have a high degree of self-loathing, and they need to relinquish themselves of it. So they express their superiority onto next man. I know better than you, and I can tell you what you can't do. Yeah? Load of little Hitlers.
I think you hit it right in the head because Elder Bear's constantly went, have you heard my argument? Have you heard my argument? Argument? We're beyond the stage of arguing. We're just pointing at Earth is measured flat. And it's true because if you read that list, it's very technical. Some of the stuff I don't even understand. So they're using this to gain intellectual superiority, like you say. And we're just going to the bare, simple facts of measurements. Like, there's nothing needed here.
Yeah,
you don't need a high degree of intellect.
They don't get to feel special anymore. Now, we had a compadre on our own side that pointed this out to us. His name was Brian. He said, well, if you just point out Earth's measured flat, I'm not needed anymore. That's right. You don't get to feel special because you've spent ages learning how the complex arguments work. If it's just measured flat, any idiot can understand it, can't they? But in terms of Bev and Elder Bear and Brian included, they don't get to feel special anymore. Brian was just like it. Why haven't I got more subs? Why aren't I recognised? Because they're all what gets termed as the secret king. Pathetic little beta cucks that need to feel special. Look, I've got an argument. Why isn't everybody looking at me? Yeah, when you've got a bit of self-confidence, you don't care whether or not people are looking at you. But they will be. But they're just not looking at you, are they, Elder Bear? They're just not looking at you, are they, Brian? No one gives two shits about you. It's because you're inconsequential to most people. That's not because I'm pouring scorn on how pathetic and unimportant you are. I'm saying to most people, there's only one person that's important to them, and that's them. Now, whether or not they are self-loathing or find themselves quite self-aggrandizing is down to the individual. But they're not concerned with you. But what you find yourself concerned with is anybody looking? Is anybody listening to my argument? Yeah, That's your self-loathing leaking out for everybody to glance upon. And it's sad. Pathetic, if you will.
Well said.
So basically, we can put ourselves out of business of arguing or debating or thinking about flat Earth by one question, which is basically provide one measurement of any aspect of the surface of Earth that does not require a horizontal plane of reference.
Yes, very well said. And the answer to that question is there isn't any. They are all with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. All Earth measurements, without exception, are flat. That's how Earth got measured. So there's had to be a very complex process where we take the geography and mathematics of Earth measurement and separate them from a group of individuals who argue for Earth not being a ball. That's what we have experienced for the last 10 years.
Yep. All globe proofs will require a flat Earth.
Yep.
End of story.
That's right. And they become increasingly complicated, so that the people who express those very complex globe assertions that also violate the base principle of Earth measurement can seem important. Oh, look how clever I am. I understand Keplerian motion. Oh, yeah. So you can tell next man with the complicated words, you give them the old razzle-dazzle, bamboozle them, baffle them with bullshit. That's all you're doing. Baffling next man with bullshit so you can feel like you're more important. Just know your own worth. I know I'm a very special snowflake. I don't need you to confirm it. You should say that to yourself every now and again. Look in the mirror and don't look like you want to tear your own eyes out. Don't feel like you're a pathetic, sad individual. Don't ask yourself why people aren't listening. Because you're oozing that pathetic nature when you ask yourselves those questions. When someone like Elderbear says, have you heard my argument? You're like, oh my God, it reeks in here. Reeks, you're pathetic. Don't get yourself some self-worth.
Please, sir, may I have some more? Please
Please
sir.
listen to my argument. Why aren't you all repeating my arguments? Why aren't my arguments? Oh, piss off, you pathetic little sad twat.
And he even had Bev come in and say, hey, Neil, you got to listen to Elder Bear's argument. Have you even heard it? I'm like, are you serious? I'm not interested in arguments anymore. What arguments are you talking about? We're talking about measurements here. We've gone past it.
Why?
These are still in the dark ages.
Why do you think they appealed to you, Neil? There's a very specific reason. I don't know if you realise.
Well, I don't know. This is when this just opened up. The Virgin Droid opened this server up, so everybody just piled in. Talking a while ago, this was going on. I think they recently got banned. Well, they know I'm going to bring it up on the show.
No. It's not because you're going to bring it up on the show. No offence to you, Neil. I don't need you to bring up anything. It's because you represent every man. If you are saying, I don't need these arguments anymore, I understand Earth's measured flat, and that's the end of it, and you're very dogmatic about those facts, then that represents a lot of people who feel the exact same way you do. Now, I've described Jin as that recently, and it's true. Jin represents a lot of, God, he's going to hate me saying this, anti-globers that want to argue that way. Now, it doesn't mean to say that Jin doesn't understand that Earth is unequivocally measured flat in all circumstances. He does, he's expressed it plenty, but he'll still strap on, but that means it's not a ball, because he wants to have that argument still. So he is genuinely representative of a huge chunk of people who are internal to this group. Neil, in that regard, is even more important. Neil represents your everyman. He represents your average Joe normal. Now, maybe Neil will take that offensively, but that's how he is representing the people on this panel. So when you, Neil, say, it's not about an argument anymore, we just measure it flat, that really grates on the people who want to have an argument so they can feel intellectually superior.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that if I'm catching that it's not an argument anymore, then that everybody's going to, there's a problem here.
Very
if
much
the
so.
everyday man realizes it's not an argument and it's just a measurement, then where are we? I got you.
Well, the audience will relate to you, Neil. I don't know if there's a certain term that I was taught in college when learning performing arts called alienation, which is to say that you can detach the audience from what you're trying to communicate with them if you do it badly. You alienate the audience. And you don't want that to be the case. You want the antithesis to that. You want them to embrace you and relate directly to you. Well, there's a certain demeanour that I give off when I say things like, I know I'm Ace, I'm a very special snowflake. There's going to be plenty of people out there that can't relate to that. Now, that's not because they're all fart-sniffing idiots like Bev and Elder Bear, but for whatever reason, there's going to be people who don't directly relate to me on that particular level, and I can understand that. But that's why I've got a panel. That's why you're here, yeah? Because you are my everyman in that regard, so that the people in the audience who do directly relate to you can have that passed on to them. And it's powerful, Neil, very powerful. And there's people out there who want to oppose that.
Them
Yep,
guys
I can
will
see that
over
myself.
there. They will argue. They will argue with trolls for hours. The only way I can listen to them is if I have a show that I could just keep jumping forward, so I could skip the goofiness. But then they'll take Vaxie, who is kind of dragging him around inside the triangle, and bully him and mute him and tell him he's wrong. Crazy. And they won't concede. They will not concede.
Concede.
But it's not a triangle.
To right.
Right.
Well, shit, just like that time Jeremy came in here and then he got sat down with 10th Man and they went over how it is a triangle. He agreed. And as soon as everybody left, he flipped his script again. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yep, I heard it. And same with A, and then they got the, yeah, whatever. There are a bunch of little kids over there. This is basically the bottom line, another bottom line. Little children.
Yep.
Yeah, because they want to be special.
Nothing I
I
haven't
already
been saying
told you
for-
that they're self-proclaimed rock stars, right? And then I heard the most recent one was the Pentagon of Flat Earth servers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, see?
That's
I
right.
love it. Self-aggrandizing bunch of dicks.
Let me ask you a question. I don't go over there. If you guys go over there, that's on you. I don't see Nathan going over there, but I see them coming over here. So if they're the Pentagon, then why are they coming here?
Got better food over here.
I guess they're sending their police over, you know?
Yeah, because we threaten their superiority. That's why we undermine them on a regular basis. When we talk about Earth being measured flat in the most simplistic of terms, anybody can understand it. Well, if anybody can understand it, they don't need to appeal to them anymore, do they? So we threaten that superiority that they've built up. That's why you've got lists of arguments you can't use, can't you? Yeah, I can. Now, that does take a certain level of self-confidence. Should I go on camera when I'm this relaxed, laid back? Probably not, but I don't care. Yeah? Takes a certain level of confidence when someone says, here's my list of things you can't argue. And you look at it and go, and just laugh in their face. That takes a certain level of confidence. Some people don't have that.
Or you could use it as toilet paper.
As far as I'm concerned, there's only one special list, and it's got 30 words in it.
Uh-oh. The one deck list of things ballers cannot say. Can you give us a few?
Ironically, they'll attack one dex list and make fun of that while not looking like giving any, kind of discrepancy to their own list.
There's an addition to that. Can't say without proving a flat earth. There's an implication behind it. We're not saying you're not allowed to say these words. We're saying when you do, and you will use these words, because they're earth measurement words. But when you do, you will sink to your knees and acknowledge how flat you must measure earth to use those words, or relinquish your use of those words. I don't give a crap which you pick. And it's not like I'm saying you're not allowed to say sea level, but when you do, you'll sink to your knees on the rock of understanding that is flat earth measurements. Or you'll say, I don't want to use sea level. Don't use it then. We give them a choice.
I'll bet-
We're not dictating to them what they can't say with our list, Wandex list.
I'll bet every part of that list, every word, refers to an aspect rather than a shape.
Correct.
Am I right?
You are correct.
So all you have to do is whenever they say any of those words is point out, does that word apply to a three-dimensional shape or just an aspect of something? So is the aspect of a sphere have anything to do with horizontal or an angle or perpendicular?
Perpendicular, like surface level measurements for altitude. Does the surface level measurement for altitude refer to a shape or an aspect you're perpendicular to? Oh, it only refers to an aspect of the ground that you must be perpendicular to describe 120,000 feet, for instance, to tell other people that they can't argue about the horizon. Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth, though, aren't you? What, you don't want to acknowledge that an altitude's directly tied to the surface level? You don't want to. Then why have you got it in your dictatorial Hitler-like-esque list of things that other people can't say then? You want to use flat Earth perpendicularity to surface level to tell people what they can't do? Yeah, wankers. Yeah, you still need a flat Earth though, don't you? When you use the things on that list that one deck rattles off quite frequently, you will require sinking to your knees in acknowledgement of the perpendicularity and aspect that you need to make your dictatorial demands to next man so you can feel a bit more superior than him. So you can get away from your own self-loathing for that few moments.
Has anyone here ever heard of a complex curve?
One of those ones that are in therapy and, you know, they're having troubles with their marriage.
So here's what this argument is. So when a glober says lunar eclipse, so you have a sphere that's being cast the light from the sun through the so-called spherical Earth to the moon, or vice versa with the solar. They say that there's no way that there can be a circular shadow because of two spheres. Now I was going, whoa, really?
Okay.
And then I heard it again.
But the assertion, before you carry on,
I got to test it.
Just before you carry on, the assertion relies on orbital motion derived from Keplerian mathematics that utilize flat Earth measurements and prerequisites. Hold on.
Because the claim is that you cannot throw a light at a sphere and project a circle shadow from that sphere to the other sphere.
Yeah, I got that the first time you said it.
It will not be a circle.
I'm trying to address it, though. I don't need it repeating. I heard it. Yeah, okay. I heard you. Meanwhile, to assert that Earth is said sphere and the light that's causing the occultation is a sphere requires the orbital motion derived from Kepler that is utilising flat Earth prerequisites in the first instance to create that orbital motion. So if we just whistle past how we created those motions to infer the sphericity of the occultation, then we can start saying how it would or wouldn't work with respect to Earth being a sphere. No, the derivation starts with Earth being measured flat to create that orbital motion, though.
Right.
Yep.
But my bottom line is that's a false claim, because I took a globe, a softball, flashlight, and my camera, and guess what? They're circles. And I'm going to post a couple of them right now here in your Discord that you'll never see, unless, of course, someone takes that and puts it in Master B for you.
There we go again. We're dealing with softballs and small things.
Hold on. Harp.
It's a false claim.
It's a false comparison.
You understand?
Exactly,
yeah,
Nathan.
A false comparison, because if you just take in isolation two balls and describing how they would occult one another with a torch, how is that directly related to Earth as a sphere? Well, it isn't. But the moment you do try and use a false comparison and connect it to Earth being a sphere, I point out that the suggestion that Earth is a sphere came from flat Earth measurements.
Yep, hallelujah.
Yeah, there's no need to go there. Once you lay down the using measurements, you even get that. You don't even have to go there.
But the claim relies
Explain
on
that, the
two
false
things.
claim.
One, that you make a false comparison. Two, if the false comparison is accepted, that we whistle past how the orbital motion in the false comparison was derived and formed in the first instance, using flat Earth measurements.
Same as that Greek guy measured it flat.
Exactly, one deck. Once we come to the understanding that, wait a second, how did you even get this? How did you derive this? Oh, from a flat Earth? Everything else goes out the window.
Exactly. If you're going to infer that you've got an occultation of spheres in the sky, where did you get that notion? Well, by measuring Earth flat is the answer to that question. Okay, so we have to violate the base principle of the Earth measurement that created that system to say whether or not it compares to balls that I've got with a torch? No. If you want to infer that Earth is that ball, then you're going to need to measure Earth flat to do so.
That's one angle that I've been hitting on lately is whenever someone says model, but they always say globe model, and then they try to go off onto, what's your flat Earth model? I don't see your flat Earth model. I just ask them what's a model, and tell them, because they're not going to answer me, that a model is something that's based off of exact measurements that are then transferred proportionally to a smaller model based on exact measurements of the thing that you're modeling. Where are your globe Earth measurements for the globe model? Which, of course, they can't come up with any, because there are no measurements of anything other than the aspects of the surface of Earth, which are based on a horizontal plane of reference.
Well
So
said.
then it's done, and they're pissed off because the argument's over, and it's time to talk about the ball game or something.
Perfect.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of what got measured, the equatorial plane of reference as the surface, with the globe Earth being the protractor you use to measure the angles with, well, then we're measuring the surface as a flat plane to create this system that you can bifurcate and have an orbit go through the centre of the flat plane that you measured, making the protractor the globe Earth. Well, we're not lingering on a protractor, and we are measuring a flat surface to create that protractor for you to believe that you're living on. But I'm not going to suggest for 1 second that the orbital motion you think creates an occultation in the sky to describe eclipses with has anything more to do with the flat plane that we actually measured than it really does. And if you want to say that that's real, then the measurement of the flat plane that you measured off the surface is also real. Therefore, Earth was measured flat to create your belief.
Yep. That's it. Before they start to talk about any sort of nonsense, just get one thing clear with them, and let's discuss the measurement of Earth first before we talk about any lights in the sky.
That's
and if they're claiming to live on a globe, say just let's confirm your globe measurement then, and when they give you an angle measurement, then we can talk about that's not a curve measurement and Earth is measured flat. Then you can't go any further with any other nonsense with the heliocentric model.
Then it's all over. That's all you can't go there. Then it's all over. And that's what people are avoiding. The fact that it's all over, buddy.
Yeah,
well, another thing people are avoiding is that measurements are empirical, aka true. And maybe even establishing that simply is a good way to find out whether you're going to have a good conversation or not. Just ask them. If I've got a 2x4 piece of wood and I measure it to be 2x4 inches, or maybe 2 7/8 inches by 4 1/16 of an inch, is that measurement true? And once you establish that, once you measure it, you know what it is. Whether it's exactly 2x4 or not quite exactly 2x4, you know empirically what that measurement is. And then just keep hitting home that measurements are empirical truth. So that
I'd stay away from empirical, though.
Empirical, doesn't it just mean, without a doubt?
Yeah, but they're going to put you in the science realm. They already tried to put this into science and found out it's pseudoscience. The measurements are just exact measurements. They're true measurements. A measurement is a measurement. You don't have to put empiricism on a measurement.
Well, aren't they synonyms?
No, not exactly. So it's directly tied to a scientific description. So if you've got it being based on experience, observation, or experiment, then that's what they'll lean into. Or at least that's what Neil's point is.
Exactly.
Well, it depends. If you know that they're going to go off onto pseudoscience, I might actually prefer to put like buzzwords like empiricism in there with measurements, because oftentimes they'll use measurements as part of the scientific experiment.
Oh, so you'll pull on them what they pull on us. I got you.
Yeah, well, and also put the buzzwords in correct context. Something empirical is true. This thing either A, causes or does not cause something. That is a truthism. It's a truth statement. So, as well as a knowledge statement. So, they can't, once you establish that a measurement is a truth statement, then
the
they
same thing
can't
applies.
use something like light years. Light years is a truth
Just one
statement,
sec.
because you're not measuring.
No.
Okay.
The moment you start describing it in terms of measurement with the word empirical attached, then the measurement would be the differential in an experiment, as in the cause and effect process. So when you're quantifying an observable phenomena, then you're going to describe the empirical nature of it with the measurement of the difference. That is to say, one of the two outcomes in a hypothesis, one being the zero difference result, the other being the affirmation of the cause of the effect. Well, that's your measurement in that regard. But it's still directly tied, if you use the word empirical, to a process of utilizing the scientific method. So that will just bring you back to the standard that they want to afford the measurements to, or describe the measurements with, which is a category error of science. I just don't know what better word. We've used it for such a long time. It was, again, all credit to refracted curvature, because he was the one who pointed this out. It's like, that's not really the right word. If you say empirical, it does have a meaning, and the word measurement can be ascribed to that meaning. It's just not that type of measurement, as in running your tape measure down your 2x4 in your example. It's the measurement of a difference in a experiment, as opposed to the measurement with a tape measure or the measurement of a linear distance.
Well, what I have here, it says, yes, measurements are fundamentally empirical because they involve linking abstract concepts to real-world observations and data gathered through sensory experience or instruments, forming the bedrock of scientific understanding based on evidence rather than pure theory.
Right, so they've got two words at the end of that definition that directly tie it to whether or not it's theory. That's the antithesis of whether or not you've got an empirical measurement. So when they're terminalizing it as measurement, their terminology infers either a zero difference result or the confirmation of a hypothesis. That's what they're tying it to. Now, I'm not saying that the word empirical can't be used for measurement. I'm saying when we use it, it will directly get tied back to science, because they want it they want Earth measurement in a scientific category, don't they?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Well, they want they I don't know if they want Earth measurement in there.
Well, let me finish reading what it says. It says, while theory guides what we measure and how, the actual act of measurement generates the empirical data, numbers representing physical properties like length or blood pressure, that we use to understand the world, making it a core part of empirical evidence. That's AI. I don't think I wouldn't use it, because, like I said, they're going to try to link it back to science, and we've demonstrated that it's not science; it's just geography.
Well, in measurements, and I get where we're going, and I agree that using the word empirical muddies the waters and stuff like that. What's interesting about the AI thing is what I latched onto was that it is taking something conceptual and verifying through measurement that it is real.
Yeah.
So
In fact, the Kirby always says that. Taking the conceptual, it's got to be in reality. So yes, I understand what you're
And you're
saying.
correct. It's not inappropriate to use it. It's just a sticky wicket if you're going to have your opponent take you back to the category error that you're trying to get away from. So it's just vigilance in terms of not using words that will tie yourself to a category error they want us to be in. They want to call us science deniers.
Right. Well, I kind of like the idea now that I'm thinking about it, that what measurement does is it empirically, or well, truthfully, it accurately reifies something as real, that you can know what it is by its measurement. So I can say a 2x4, all right? And everyone kind of knows what that is, or a 5x7. Okay, yeah, I've got a 5x7. Not everyone knows that I'm referring to a 5x7 photograph. But if I can measure and show you by observation, here, I've got a 5x7 photograph and I've measured 5 inches by 7 inches as that piece of paper, then that reifies or makes real that which was conceptual, and not everyone understood what I meant by 5x7. So, in a way, that kind of looking at it philosophically, I think, could mix things up, because people say circle. The Earth's a circle. Is it? Earth's a ball. Is it? How would you reify that so that that conceptual idea of what a circle is, or a ball, or a sphere, or a flat plane?
Oh, you have to measure that.
Yeah, Earth is flat. See, we see everyone right now is just harping on, well, the Earth's not flat. Just because it's horizontal doesn't mean it's flat. They hate the word flat. When I say flat Earth, then their idea, of course, we all know, comes up with the turnip in space, or the flat disk pancake Earth in the solar system model of heliocentrism, which is the goofiest one. Don't forget to make it square, right? All those images are the conspiracy, or are the plot to keep the narrative making fun of flat Earth. When we're talking about what is true, we reify what we're talking about by the measurements that are true. Empirical, I might say, heretically. But that is the only way to stop people in their tracks and make them think about it. And then the ones that are absolutely denying what is true and just flailing and delving into absurdity become obvious and recognizable by every man as a nutcase. When you watch McToon nowadays rant and stuff like that, and if I was a normie, man, I'd like, this guy's creepy, right?
Yeah, but they have to
I was
take
hoping
the
you were going to
abstract.
go with the 2x4, bro, because you're going to say it's 2 inches by 4 inches. I was going to call you a liar.
I know. Did you hear me stall a little bit? Because
Yes, I did. And the 5x7 is 5x7. Yes, I did.
Get off my back. Quit harping on me, Harp. Okay.
Hold on. You still
enough.
have to link the abstract concept to real world observation, and you can't with a globe.
That's not. No, did you miss what Harp was just doing? He was pointing out the 2x4.
I know what he was
2x4.
doing.
I know, and I got it. We're good. I know a 2x4 is not exactly 2x4 inches.
Not exactly 2x4. Anybody that works in construction knows that.
Right. Well, I built a chicken coop, and it screwed me up because I'm not a constructionist. So, any rate, yeah, I knew that, and that's why I hesitated when I was going with my demonstration. But I stuck with it because
you're not a constructionist.
I'm not a constructionist. And so,
That's why he used that word, if it's a word. Very good,
Yeah.
Surf Daddy.
yeah, I get it. But back off, because I'm just
Yeah, I
using
heard you do it. I heard you switch. I knew you were going, uh-oh. And you went to 5x7, and I knew right away it was a picture. Yep.
Yeah, but it could be a 5x7 piece of wood. I don't know. Anyhow, squirrel. People are delving into absurdity when they look at a definition that has absurdly been changed from level means actually curved but parallel, and they're mixing stuff up, and people who don't know what is true and don't know what is real are getting all mixed up. I sent it to the chat on Facebook, and this is what brought up my level doesn't mean flat stuff this morning. We're just talking about sea level, and Earth is measured flat, which is triggering a lot of people. And this guy wrote, sea level does not mean the ocean is perfectly flat, planar surface. Instead, it is a complex scientific concept used as a baseline for measuring elevations and depths on Earth. And the ocean's surface is actually a mosaic of peaks and valleys influenced by several physical factors. What the hell does that mean?
See how he tried to
Only
put
the last
science in
part
there
was
too?
valid.
I'm sure I don't even know if this guy on Facebook is an AI bot or not, or he's copying from an AI bot. He actually has quotes around mosaic of peaks and valleys. What the hell?
See, that's what I was going to hit you with. Your water is not still in the ocean, but if you get
Right.
back and step back, you can see that it's flat when it's at rest. It's
Right,
very
but
simple.
see, it's not. That's all the argument they have. We're using the horizon to establish horizontal when you're using a sextant. And so arguing about the flatness of sea level is unnecessary because we're not actually using the sea to make level. We're using the horizon, which we
And I
know.
hear echoes of Bev in here. This is what I'm hearing. Bev is responsible for this stuff.
Well,
Because, it's not flat because there's mountains. Okay.
yeah.
Remember Bev? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Just out of
sophistry.
interest.
Nathan went over
Sorry,
this.
hello. Just out of interest. When
I
you
know,
say
but this
there's
is another
mountains-
thing that he
God,
did.
Third
This
attempt.
is just another
Third
thing
attempt.
that he's talking about right now.
Gotcha. So when we say there's mountains, how are they measured? What are they measured with respect to again?
Mean sea level.
But mean sea level is a mosaic of peaks and valleys and a complex scientific concept used as a baseline for measuring elevation.
So the heights of the heights of the mountains are
used as a baseline.
so the
He said it. Used as
so
a
the-
baseline.
so
There
the
you go.
heights of the mountains are wrong then.
No, they're just taking what is true, which is that it is used as the baseline for measuring elevations and depth. See, you can't even yell at them because they're saying the truth, but they're couching it in buzzwords like it's a complex scientific concept used as the baseline for measuring. And then that's when they take the tangent plane. Don't you ever heard of a tangent? And say
You're in a
that the
category
tangent
error.
plane- and then they say, yeah, well, that's, you're not hitting all the buzzwords. My bingo card for category error. Quit letting Nathan do your thinking for you, and
Oh, I hate that shit.
yeah, but see, and that's what it devolves to because they cannot stick to the idea of simple truth that the horizon is horizontal, level is level, flat is flat, level and horizontal and flat are synonyms.
That's just another leakage, let's call it, right? When they say things like let Nathan do your thinking for you, right? What they actually mean is you should be thinking the way I want you to think. Yeah? Again, that's leakage, low self-esteem. What's that? You're listening to somebody else other than me. I mean, you should be listening to me and saying what I say. Why aren't you using my rhetoric? Listen to my argument. Leakage. That's
Then
all
they'll
that
call
is.
you our priest.
Please,
Yeah, then they'll
No,
call
by
you
calling.
our priest.
Let me just clarify what I mean, because that was a good way of putting it. By suggesting that I am your priest, it's a way of saying that they are not your priest, but they want to be. That's all that is.
they
That's
actually
correct.
they
Behind it, the projection, that could be what it means.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
leakage,
that's
projection, yes.
projection.
It's the typical Glober move.
because they're relying on their priests. They're the ones that are saying, are you arguing against the thousands of scientists and geographers and surveyors and pilots? You're arguing that all of them are wrong. Those are their priests. And
Exactly.
they are projecting at that point that you aren't following their priests and their religion. And then they have the gall to project that Nathan's our cult leader and stuff like that.
Correct.
I'm saying, dude, I just gave you a definition of an elevation angle from a website. I just showed you a picture from the FAA that shows that, here's how you do a glide slope. I've got something from the Air Force that shows about a glide slope. You see any curve in there? Well, they're just quit listening to Nathan. The Earth's not measured flat, and it's not really level, but they just do it for simple. We know all the arguments.
Doesn't
and all
matter
that
where
stuff.
you got it from. Once Nathan uses it, that's a Nathan argument, and they're gonna say you're a Nathan freaking cult follower.
Yeah, Nathan, you suck. You make it all hard for us to think on ourselves.
But we want you to follow us.
Exactly,
Stop
Neil.
following Nathan.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're really saying. You can put it in a different term, which is you're not following my gurus that I take as being true because you're following Nathan Oakley. Therefore, you're not adhering to what I adhere to. That's how Surf Daddy summarised it, and he's absolutely correct. But it's leakage. It is a demonstration of them demonstrating their own lack of self-worth when they do things like that. Is it privilege?
By the way, Nathan, I'm going to need your address so I can send you my Social Security check.
I'm good. Although PayPal donations are definitely well appreciated.
I'm just calling you a
thank-
cult leader that you are,
Thank you for this. Thank you for the super chat, Unitox Femu. There's Pritvis Lakes in Croatia has 1-2 levels. Thank you for the super chat.
What lake?
I don't know. I couldn't pronounce it. Pritvis. P-R-I. Is it P-L-I-T-V-I-C-E? I think it's disappeared off screen now. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. Right, any more?
Well, we got an extra 13 minutes today. Excellent.
What's the matter? You getting itchy? You got somewhere to go?
Me? Always got somewhere to go.
Hey, you.
Places to
You're the
be.
guy who's running the show.
Got to return some videotapes. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Bromering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.